Hi, uh, welcome to this program on a new program at NYSERDA, New York State's Energy Research and Development Authority, with a very important and attractive program for architects. I'm Rosalie Ginevra, the Executive Director of the Architectural League. I'm really happy to welcome you all here today and to welcome Kristin Graham from NYSERDA, who's a project manager in the new construction program at NYSERDA. She earlier in her career practiced architecture and now has been at NYSERDA for about 9 years, involved with the Buildings of Excellence program that she'll talk about, and this early development. I'm missing the exact name of it, but anyway, we're delighted to be able to provide this information program today about what this new program is, how to apply for it, what its goals are. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kristin. We will have time at the end of her presentation for some questions. Please put your questions in the Q&A at the bottom, the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, and we will try to get to as many of them as we can. So Kristin, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. So hopefully my audio looks good, and I am going to share my screen. So thank you all for joining either the live or the recorded session. Today, as Rosalie said, I'm a project manager in the new construction program at NYSERDA, and during this session, we're going to go through a really brief overview of NYSERDA's goals, the Buildings of Excellence program as a whole, and then we're going to do a deeper dive into the early design stage RFP, which is what I am running, new to the third round of Buildings of Excellence, for those who are actually familiar with the program. Okay, and hopefully that advanced and we're good to go. So like I said, I'm going to start today with a really high-level overview of New York State's nation-leading climate agenda. Buildings account for more than 1/3 of the economy-wide greenhouse gas emissions in New York State. Most of the state's current building stock was constructed prior to energy codes were passed, so they're not constructed to be energy efficient. The Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, also known as the Climate Act, is now in law. This is something that NYSERDA helped put out. And this has put New York on a path to achieve its mandated goals, which are all listed here up on the slide, in particular, of zero emission electricity sector by 2040. New York is also supporting Governor Hochul's plan to achieve 2 million climate-friendly, electrified or electrification-ready homes by 2030. This plan is supported by a series of legislative and policy actions and programs across NYSERDA's complete portfolio, including the Buildings of Excellence program. These policies and goals are supported by the state's investments to transition to a clean, green economy. So here's an overview I want to provide on the Buildings of Excellence program. So NYSERDA has partnered with architects, industry experts, and other members of the design community for the program and competition. The goal of this program is to spur the design and innovation of clean, resilient, and carbon neutral multifamily buildings that are protecting the health, safety, and welfare of the public, all at a predictable cost. Multifamily buildings represent about 40% of the projected new building construction in the site. This program is directly advancing Governor Hochul's 2 million climate-friendly initiative, as we just mentioned. Since the launch in 2019, 2 rounds of the competition have awarded over $31 million to over 40 projects across both the market rate and the affordable housing communities. Round 1 and round 2 are structured in a similar way, where the developer and the architect team together and they split the funding, where the developer receives most of that funding. The competition continues to show innovation, replicability, and scalability. All of our round 2 projects, which there were 14 that we awarded, were proposed as all electric projects, including our first super tall project. Round 2 also included a partnership with the Architectural League to ensure that overall design quality was an important criterion in the evaluation of the projects. 5 accomplished jurors reviewed multiple criteria of design excellence and selected 5 projects to receive the Blue Ribbon for Design Excellence Award. These projects seamlessly integrated the building's design, energy efficiency and productivity, resiliency, and long-term maintenance and operation into their overall project designs. Round 3 of the competition was recently launched and once again has evolved to meet market needs, support policy goals, and build off the successes of the first 2 rounds. More focus has been placed on design quality, resiliency, and providing those healthier, safer, and more comfortable living conditions for occupants. Round 3 is now comprised of 2 RFPs. The demonstration RFP, which is similar, if not almost the exact same format to the rounds 1 and round 2. And then we have the new RFP, which we're going to dive into deeper today. And this is for funding for early stage design support that goes directly to design teams. The early stage design support was created to ensure that clean, resilient, and cost-effective measures are integrated into the projects right from the beginning. The demonstration RFP was once again a competitive program, and it's now closed. We also held another successful blue ribbon jury with the Architectural League, and we will announce the awards at a later date. So while the early design stage RFP is new and it's standalone from the demonstration RFP, it supports the same goals as the Buildings of Excellence program. So again, those goals are to accelerate the design, development, construction, and operation of carbon neutral ready multifamily buildings in New York State, while also awarding projects that have high architectural quality, integrate non-energy co-benefits, and are carbon neutral ready and have market transformation capability. At a really large macro scale, NYSERDA is looking to build the practice and proficiency of design firms that are completing the analysis, design, engineering, and research needing to produce cost-effective, carbon-neutral ready buildings that can be sold to developers and desirable for the occupants that live there. We're looking to support the design community with resources and tools that will help them with policy requirements, local laws, and advancing code cycles that are not that far off in the future. We're hoping that this new funding source will help increase the firm's capability to complete carbon neutral ready projects and to also increase the number of firms that are participating in this space. We understand the value that early funding can bring to these projects. So the early design stage funding support RFP is looking to intervene and provide that funding to design firms at the very early design phases to buy down the firm's upfront risks to achieve the goals that I previously stated, and also better pitch the building designs to developers. For those that may be familiar with NYSERDA's new construction program, we've had a long running of standard offer programs in both the commercial and the housing sectors, in addition to the competitive program that we've been talking about, Buildings of Excellence. We have already closed down the the housing standard offer program, and we're looking to do the same for the commercial program in the next couple months. So we're looking at this pilot program that directly funds design firms as a new way to inform how the new construction program is going to operate in the market going forward. In order to continue to reach scale and replicability, we're looking at making the shift to funding firms that can impact the entire portfolio of that firm versus just funding an individual project. While the early design stage support funding under this RFP is for a specific project, the hope is that the design firm will take the learnings from the additional research, design detailing, spec writing, modeling, and marketing promotions, and then apply them to other projects that are in that firm's portfolio in a quest to make carbon neutral attributes part of the general design practice. This pilot program actually came about in part from feedback that we received through the work of the Blue Ribbon Jury in the last round, and then the connections that we've made with the help and partnership from the Architectural League. We're hoping to continue to gather market insights as we look to refine the program for future iterations. So as we dive into the details of the RFP, and if you all think that you have firm qualifications and or a project in mind, we really do encourage you to apply to this RFP. So this program is an open enrollment and program, and it's open through December 30th, 2022. So that's actually the last Friday of the year, just so everyone knows that. The 31st is on a Saturday. This RFP is looking to identify and partner with selected design professionals that demonstrate the greatest potential for success and replication in the market. So this RFP, it's a two-part application and review process. Design firms must first submit proposals to become a design firm partner. Once a firm is a design partner, you can then submit project proposals to receive the early design stage funding. Funding is available on a first come, first serve basis for 100% of early design services up to $250,000 per project for engagements that support the exploration of all the buildings of excellence goals that I've previously stated, as well as disseminating information out into the market through a wide range of marketing and promotional activities. Funding will be determined based on the project size and the project scope. So for those who might be familiar with the new construction program, we have an RFP that's on the street called 3771. It's the primary energy consultants, and these are contractors who perform technical assistance for those standard offer programs that I previously mentioned. Under 3771, we've created a contractor pool. So we're trying to do the same thing under this early design stage RFP, creating a contractor pool of design firm partners that are going to be able to provide this early stage design support for buildings of excellence projects. So again, this is a two-part process. This is going to be the first part of your proposal. Design firms will need to submit proposals to become the design firm partner. The proposals will be reviewed on a rolling basis. And once approved, NYSERDA will enter into a $0 contract with that firm. For this initial round of the RFP, we are looking for firms who have previous experience in the multifamily, carbon neutral, and net zero energy space. Successful firm proposals will include general information about the firm, description of market transformation capabilities that the firm has. Here, what we're looking for is overall experience, services, and skills that demonstrate successful project marketing and promotion that will lead to educating, influencing, disseminating information out to, and ultimately creating more demand for these projects in the multifamily market. And then we're also looking for 3 multifamily carbon neutral ready or net zero energy project samples that will address, again, we need project information about the project, competence in the carbon neutral ready design that is coupled with architectural design quality and innovation, the ability to deliver high quality and functional projects at competitive costs, ability to encompass non-energy co-benefits while providing exceptional comfort and otherwise outstanding living environments for occupants, and how this project generates interest and demand for similar buildings. A couple of additional notes regarding the project work samples I would like to call out. Project work samples must be completed and have been designed by the proposing firm. We're only going to contract with one entity, and again, that's going to be the firm that sends in the proposal. But the project work samples do not need to be from New York State. And then if the firm does not happen to have 3 multifamily carbon neutral ready projects, we would accept double the amount, so 6 commercial projects that are carbon neutral ready. And then once a design firm is an established design partner, you can then submit anywhere between 1 to 4 project proposals for the early design stage funding. This is going to be the second part of your application process. Examples of the services that design partners can engage in completing would be in-depth research on embodied carbon, non-energy co-benefits, and resiliency, additional modeling on system selection and savings necessary to deliver carbon neutral ready performance, early stage applications for third-party standards and certifications, additional economic analyses on first costs, return on investments, and value propositions, and then a more robust promotion, marketing, or publicity plan. Project eligibility for these projects include, it must be a multifamily occupancy as the primary use, so greater than 50%, must be located in one of the 6 investor-owned New York State electricity distribution companies. At NYSERDA, we do not cover or fund the entire state, and you must pay into the system benefits charge. It must be a new construction or adaptive reuse project. The project must be in programming, concept, or early schematic design phase as of the date of your proposal. And projects do not need to be committed to moving into construction at the time of proposal. The projects must meet the definition of carbon neutral ready, which is very specific and found within the RFP in section 2, eligibility. And then projects could have also previously submitted for the Buildings of Excellence demonstration RFP that closed earlier in the year. So at the highest level, successful early design stage funding project proposals will be expected to demonstrate how the design firm partner will engage with the projects to reduce the energy use and per capita carbon emissions while increasing the number of integrated non-energy co-benefits, all that can be replicated at scale. Project proposals will include general information about the project and then proposed scope of work that the design partner is going to do. And then we need to have details about the project design, goals, and how the design partner intends on further addressing the exploration of architectural design quality, carbon neutral ready and energy efficiency attributes, resiliency, passive and active survivability, quality of non-energy co-benefits, market transformation capability, reduction in embodied carbon, and cost reduction strategies. Additionally, we're going to be looking for details on how the design partners will be marketing and promoting the proposed project in a way that's useful for both the design and developer industries as well as the general public. Please also ensure that a budget is laid out in the proposal. A simple Excel file is completely acceptable, but the more details on the budget as it is associated with the scope, the better. And also you can list sub-consultants if you know you're going to have sub-consultants on the project. If you have a budget for them, you may also list that. Again, the more details, the better. And this is my final slide. So full proposal requirements are laid out in the RFP, and the most successful project proposals are going to address as many of the goals laid out in the RFP as possible. Proposals for the projects are also reviewed on a rolling basis. And then once the project has been reviewed and approved, we issue what's called a task work order. And that will be created and sent out to the design partner. And that is the green light that you have received the funding and you're ready to go with your additional analyses. Payments will occur, this might be, oh, actually it looks okay. Payments will be occurring at both the 50 and 100% stages of schematic design. And then a small portion will be done at the end of CDs. That is intentionally the smallest amount, just in case the project does not actually get that far in design. And then specific deliverables are required for each payment. And that again is laid out fully and in depth and in detail in the RFP. And with that, I do appreciate your time in listening to this presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions either in the chat, the Q&A, or if Rosalie, if you have any questions that you would like to tee up. And I will exit out of my screen.
Yeah, I do have some questions just to clarify or reinforce some things. So the two-stage process, given that we're already at the beginning of November and the deadline is at the end of December, how long do you have to do the application to become a design partner and wait for approval on that before you can apply for a specific project?
So you can do them at the same or at different times. The sequencing, however, is you need to be a design partner before I can issue a test work order to you. So what is happening now, though, is that I can review them simultaneously. And then when the first contract is done through contracts and legal, I can already have it teed up. I can already have your project proposal teed up, and it can happen quite quickly. There's no stopping you from putting both proposals into the system.
Okay. Also, as a kind of hypothetical, because I think it, if I am a design firm and I have, I don't have a client, but I've identified a site and I have a brilliant idea for a multifamily housing project for that site, would I be eligible to apply even though I don't have a client?
Yep. So we, I think I can probably quickly mention this, but it does not have to be completed or does not have to be set to go into construction. And this is, it is for folks who already have projects and developers all on board, but it's also, to your point, you have a great site, you have a great idea, but you need to do additional economic analysis to really sell a developer on this project, for example. So yeah, it's going to work both. Hopefully it'll work both ways. Yeah.
Okay. And for the, you mentioned a number of times, and I know having talked with you and others at NYSERDA before, that the replicability and the possibility of a project and a process impacting the marketplace and, making the whole marketplace better in terms of the goals of NYSERDA is really important. So when you ask for a publicity plan, for example, for a project, could that be about the innovations in the design approach, or are you really thinking about the marketing of the units per se as housing?
I think it could be, it could be either. I think what we have seen in the past is, projects can be either marketed as just the project, it was a great project, or we've seen certain innovations, certain system selection. If a project was using panelized construction, that's what the focus of the marketing was. So, that's an innovation, or the spin or the story to be told. So we used panelized construction and it was cheaper. The quality was, the QA was better. We reduced the number of cars that were coming to site. So we, reduced the amount of carbon that was going into the atmosphere that way. So I think we would like to probably and have seen more marketing on the design, the construction, the building itself, versus how a developer might promote this to folks that are renting or buying.
Okay, that's probably good news to the architects who are listening. Okay, so we have some questions in the Q&A.
Sure.
Are there any opportunities in rural areas of the state, or is this only targeted to large buildings in urban settings?
Nope, we upstate, downstate, or anywhere in the state. I think just what's happened and just the way that the state is broken out, I believe it's about 80% of multifamily building is in the downstate area and 20 is upstate. So across the state is fine. I think we just seem to be heavier just based on the way that the multifamily housing sector is.
Is there a specific definition for multifamily? Does it have to be greater than a certain number of units?
So it can't be two duplex or a two family or a townhouse.
But anything above 2 units?
Yeah, I think I believe we just took the code definition. I'm just going to double check that in the RFP. But I believe that's what I think just we just say to double check, 1 and 2 family homes and townhomes as defined within the definition section of the IBC are not eligible.
Okay, so anything above a 2-family, it sounds like, but double check.
Yeah.
Okay, and the next question, can we submit to the RFP with a full design team of architect, engineer, sustainability consultant, or just the architect?
So this is a question that's come up a lot. So we are just going to contract with one entity to become the design firm partner. So if in your work samples, for example, you were on a team with multiple architects and multiple engineers, and whether you were the architect of record, or a supporting architect, just be very clear as to what your firm did on those specific projects in your work samples. But again, we're only contracting initially to become a partner with one entity. And then when you get into the second part of the proposal, which is the projects, you can include that whole package of subs that you have. And even if you are doing an integrated project design and you even know who your general contractor is going to be and things like that, you can include all of that information in there.
But it sounds to me then, so you're contracting with one firm,
Yes.
which would be the design firm. If the project were awarded money, it would be up to the design firm, it sounds like, to whether they wanted to spend some of that money to pay a sustainability consultant or an engineer or somebody else. I mean, it's yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Next question. If we have a project with a developer who isn't necessarily on board with the carbon neutral goals, what would that also be acceptable? In other words, the project will move forward, but not necessarily achieve the additional goals supported by the early design funding.
So no, you have to meet, in that case, we would hope that this funding, you could do some extra, like I gave the economic analysis example before, because that's probably what's going to push a developer, generally speaking. So the hope is that this funding would push that needle, to sway a developer. It has to meet the goals that we have in here. So I would say if there's anything else that you think could sway them that we would support, please look at it. Otherwise, it wouldn't unfortunately qualify.
Okay. The qualifications required seem to favor established firms, not new ones. As an example, if a new firm without multifamily work in its portfolio, but multifamily experience on its staff, can exemptions be made in becoming a qualified design partner?
So unfortunately, yeah, this is, we've heard this, I know this answer doesn't help, but we've heard this feedback a lot. So because this is a pilot program, we thought, we needed to start at least with the first batch being established in the space. So we understand that new firms, small firms that want to enter, that were in the commercial space, want to enter into multifamily, we get that. But for this, the way it's written, we need to have the multifamily experience, or we need to see double the work samples in the commercial space is what we, that was the exception that we kind of came up with. So we really need to see that you're established in the carbon neutral net zero space.
Yeah, but the going back to an earlier question, the definition of multifamily actually is fairly, for New York City architects at least, is fairly a small building. So hopefully that will help some people. I would think adaptive reuse projects may be a priority since so much building stock is in place. Would adaptive reuse projects and renovations qualify for submission?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And while it doesn't the scoring doesn't necessarily, that type of scoring and priority is more prevalent in the demonstration RFP. Just as a goal for NYSERDA's new construction program, at least, adaptive reuse is for sure something that we want to target. We don't have as many success stories, so we want more, and we want to share that out. So yeah, for sure.
And I wonder if would, for an adaptive reuse project, if that's what's being proposed, do you have to have adaptive reuse work samples?
No, nope. It's not it's not like a one-to-one.
Okay.
Relationship.
If our experience in multifamily projects is in another country, in Europe, for example, would it work?
So yes, I just need to, or we just need to see, sorry, it is me, but, we need to just see, like, if you're gonna do if it's passive house, for example, just please make sure that you really clearly indicated what that certification, that third-party certification, net zero qualifications are, because we are not going to probably be as familiar with what's going on in Europe as compared to what we're doing and seeing here. So just be super clear about what it was and how you can relate it to what we're familiar with here.
Okay, so yeah, there's a kind of there's a very important point there, I think, which is that the work samples need to not only be multifamily, but to be low energy or carbon neutral. Okay, to show some experience. Following up on the qualifications favoring established firms questions, will the next phases of this program open up to newer firms or smaller sizes?
So so I don't know the answer to that, because it isn't we're not done with this pilot yet. So we're going to take learning, just as the Buildings of Excellence program has continued to evolve over the last 3-4 years, this is hopefully going to continue to evolve too. So we've heard that feedback and sort of the related feedback that I provided here too. We have some ideas. We are going to vet them through some of the firms and relationships that we've created, as I mentioned, with the league and elsewhere, to see what makes sense. We've heard that feedback. So stay tuned.
Okay.
And if it's more than one firm or person asking that, if I can always, when we get there, I can always ensure that, I do some direct outreach.
But I would suggest too, and tell me if I'm wrong about this, but if people have questions or they think something might work as a work sample or as experience, that they should be in touch with you rather than just assuming that it doesn't work.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned this, and Rosalie and I have had these conversations, but I mean, a lot of the things that we pulled into this program, we did get from conversations that we've had, whether it was in that blue ribbon jury or whether it was through relationships and connections. So it's kind of like, if we don't hear the feedback, we don't know the feedback exists, right? So yes, please reach out to me. I've had difficult conversations with folks before about, not qualifying, but again, it's potentially helping to inform a better next round of this.
Right. I have a couple more questions myself that just might be useful to people. For some people, the term carbon neutral ready may not be so familiar. And I know you said that it's explained in the RFP, but could you give us a kind of preview of what that means? Yeah,
so it is definitely in the RFP. It's probably about a paragraph long. But it's pretty much, we're not going to say that you have to do passive house, but we're, use of renewables, use of a third-party standard that's going to get you, we're moving away from the term net zero energy, net zero capable, net zero verified. We've shifted away from that recently, and we're going towards carbon neutral ready. And again, you're getting to that really, really low or zero when you've added in presumably renewables. And that could be, depending upon where you are, it could be solar, it could be ground source heat pump, it could, geothermal, things like that. So hopefully that's
okay, here's a question related to that.
Yeah.
Carbon neutral ready projects presently in design or early stages of construction can qualify as experience. It's can, yeah.
Yes. So yes, design has to be completed. So we need to just see
For the work samples, not obviously not for the project
Yeah.
qualifying for this.
That was what the
program.
question was.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. It doesn't have to, construction does not have to be completed. Building does not need to be occupied. And then I think, if perhaps you're in CDs, reach out to me and we can talk through that. I don't know that we got into that level of detail in the RFP, and I'm not 100% remembering. So we can have a separate conversation. I don't want to misspeak, but CDs is design's essentially done.
Pretty much
right?
done, yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
Could a new joint venture entity qualify for the program? For example, a small architectural design firm partnered with a larger technically experienced engineering firm?
Are you, the answer is probably not going to be, I'm going to answer the question with a question. I think we would need to look to see if you all were going into business together going forward. I think I might need more information on that one. I'm sorry.
But let me ask a kind of related question in a different way. If the two entities were able to form a relationship that both were comfortable with, could, for example, an engineering firm or for that matter, a big architecture firm that had the requisite work samples, could they become the design partner and then subcontract with a small architecture firm that didn't have the work samples to actually do the project, to be part of the project team?
Okay, so that one would be for part one, as the partner would be the architecture firm that had the experience. So then when the real life project came about, you would have, again, that partner would be in some way, shape, or form still influencing the design, or still part of the design. That's the main criteria there. Like whoever the design partner is that we've contracted with needs to have influence over the design. Because again, they're supposedly doing modeling, additional research, additional detailed development, things like that are going to have to be incorporated into the design. So whomever the subs are, regardless if it's another architect, a slew of engineers, or a general contractor, or a firm for cost estimating, that's fine. Like that can be your real team in the real life project, but we've only contracted with that design firm partner.
Okay.
Am I answering? Yeah.
Yes, I think that answers that question. Here's another one.
Okay.
Does the architecture firm need to be in New York State, or can a foreign firm apply?
As long as the project
You're right.
New York State. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question about building type. Do things like dormitories or certainly supportive housing, I assume, qualifies as multifamily housing, but would something like a dormitory qualify?
So dorms do not qualify.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's another, I was looking in the RFP because I know that there's buildings that provide student housing, including residence halls that are owned and operated by a municipality or by New York State, are not eligible to participate. Hotels, motels, and other hospitality related buildings are not eligible to participate.
And, okay, given a big conversation that's going on in New York City right now, what about a project to convert a hotel to apartments? That could qualify.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
It just, because that's a change of use, right? Motel to motel is not,
Right, right.
Hilton buying a Holiday Inn is not a.
Right. Okay. So the Alicia has put the link to the RFP in the chat. It's a very, very long link, but there it is. And it's also can be found by going on the NYSERDA website, and is also in the league's announcement of this program. I hope and suspect, Kristin, that you're going to get a lot of questions and a lot of people interested, I hope, in this, because it really is it's a very interesting prospect to be able to do this kind of early design work, even when you don't know fully where the project is going. So I hope that there is a lot of response to it. And for everybody listening, I think, how would you like us, Kristin, to make, to help people get in touch with you?
I mean, I think email is probably the easiest. And then if we go back and forth over, sometimes the questions are quite simple, and I can just, the dormitory question, for example, I can answer that, or I can just very simply copy and paste the sentence from the RFP in there. But if it's more of a conversation about some things that might be a little bit, we're not quite sure, the answer isn't as black and white, email, obviously, but then we'll look to set up 15-30 minutes or whatever.
Okay, so is it?
I think email, long story short, is the right way to go.
Is it okay with you if we put your email in the chat?
Yeah.
Okay, so Alicia, wherever you are, could you please do that? We have two questions and one comment. A question: can a seasonal rental building be eligible? That's a tricky one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the answer to that. That one we'll need to look into that.
Okay.
Yes.
Next question. I assume that mixed use multifamily buildings will qualify. Yes.
Yep. It's just we need a more than 50%
multifamily use, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And then a final comment, a great comment. This is a fabulous proposed program. So yay.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. And I know I am biased towards this group of actors in the industry. Meaning
architects.
Yeah. I didn't want to assume everyone was architects on here, but we understand the need to get the money out as fast and early as possible, and we're working as fast as we can as a state agency to do that, and within the confines that we have to do. And heard the comments and questions today and elsewhere. So I'm hopeful for a really successful continuation of this. And again, I think this is where our new construction program is pivoting with the market engagement. So I'm looking forward to continuing to be engaged and meet more people and make these connections and have honest conversations on how to keep making things better. So thank you for the comment. Thank you for everyone listening. I really appreciate it personally, but I know that it's super important for us going forward.
And I would just say, I really encourage anybody who's interested and thinks that they're eligible to apply, because I suspect that a display of interest is always helpful in having something
Yes.
Expand and go forward and get adapted to meet needs going forward. So
yeah, thank you for that comment. And I will say, we have partners already contracted, we have projects already rolling through. So, it is first come, first serve, but yes, the more partners we have, the new names of firms is excellent too for us. I mean, that's also really another part of this is more firms, but new firms that aren't folks that we've seen. We still welcome folks that we've seen in the years, but new firms is where we want to go to. So yeah,
great.
More interest, the better.
Okay.
Point keeps us going. So thank you.
Great. So prepare for the deluge. Your email is in the chat. And thank you so much for being willing to do this. And,
yeah.
And thank you all for attending.